to trade talk with the deadline that's just about to happen. Had a couple of big moves with Dan Rioli going to the Suns. So Dan Rioli has basically just landed there, but Richmond give a pick 6 and pick 23, and then Gold Coast in return give a third round pick, currently number 51, 61, 70, and 76. So that's what's been happening. And then Shai Bolton going to Fremantle. Fremantle give a first round pick, currently 14, and a future third round pick tied to Richmond. And then Richmond give 3 first round picks, 9, 10, 11, and 18 for Shai Bolton. So yeah, I think that's probably a good enough sort of roundup or deal that's happened there. And then for Melbourne, they get Harry Sharp and a future third rounder pick tied to Brisbane, with Brisbane receiving 49 and a future third round pick tied to Essendon. So I think that's pretty good. He's a real speedy player, Sharp, and I think he's a really great addition for what the Demons are needing. In addition to obviously Windsor, they've also got Strupp as well, which that's and Brown as well. Don't forget Brown. So I think they've done pretty well. They're the only trades that have really happened thus far. I think Bailey Smith. My thoughts on Bailey Smith is that he's going to go to pre-season draft. His manager, Paul, he was the manager of Luke Ball. So back in 2009, when he walked away from Saints, he walked into the Magpies. Paul Connors at the time just sent him to the pre-selection draft, and then he got picked up by Collingwood, and then inevitably they played Saints in the 2010 grand final, and the infamous replay, and then he won a premiership with them. So I think that's what's going to happen here with Bailey Smith, and I'd be surprised at the moment. Obviously, Barras, there's been nothing that's happened with Barras. So I honestly think that Barras is probably going to go to the pre-season draft. Like, I don't see West Coast giving up pick 3 was massive. I just think with Barras, they're probably going to take him to the pre-season draft. Perhaps there's been no word or no sort of idea of what's been happening. Hey Jane, but yeah, there's been no word of what's going on with Barras. So I think he's going to go to pre-season draft. So we'll see what else unfolds in that aspect of things. In other news, what was this one? Oh yeah, Crows and Demons completed pick swap to set up pick 9 deals. So that happened 2 days ago. So a third round pick, 46, and a future third round selection tied to Melbourne. So that's what happened there. Yeah, so I mean, with everything that's happened this trade period, I honestly did switch off from it a little bit. I only switched back onto it about yesterday because of the the Eagles trade for pick 3. They gave pick 3 to Carlton, and I just could not believe that. I was like, you're gonna be kidding me. I was so upset about that. And yeah, it's just one of those things that I woke up and I was like, okay, what's happened? And then I jumped onto AFL website, and then I went on to, after that, I think I went on to Reddit as well, and just seeing the massive amounts of people just fuming. I cannot remember a time when people literally oh my gosh, what is going on? And and then I watched Backchat Studios with Will Schofield. That's a great one. Obviously he's in WA, play for the Eagles, but he's pretty widespread with what his views are. And I think with Will Schofield, I like watching because he's just straight to the point. He's like a Kane Corns as well. So yeah, it's just his thoughts on it. I was just like, you know what? I didn't know where to for the club next, and I'm glad that obviously Eagles weren't going to give up Barras easily. But yeah, overall, I think the winner of the draft would be Blues. To get pick 3, I think was just, amazing. With the Dan Houston thing, yes, he got to the Pies. A lot of people thought he'd go to Blues or North Melbourne. Muhammad Ali, hey mate. But yeah, I just think I think with the ties that he had with Nick Dacos and all the Dacos brothers, it made sense for him to go there. I don't think the Magpies are in a premiership window. I don't think so. Come 2025, even though Houston's a great addition, I honestly think John Noble's a good player, and I think John Noble was just like he had enough of the club, and to exercise his choice was fine as well. Like, I totally accept that. He can do whatever he wants. He can go to the Suns. He's going to be playing with Daniel Rioli. Like, I think the Suns are looking pretty healthy at the moment. Yes, they lost Jack Lukosius, but I don't think Dimmer was really that impressed by Jack Lukosius. And even Kane Conson SEN was like, we don't even know if Lukosius is going to be a good player for Port. And like, they signed him for 5 years or 6 years. And it's like, Kane Corns was like, well, he should be a fringe player. He should be like 1 year only, playing on the fringes. Because they've got Mitch Georgiades, they've got Rioli, they got... Marshall's the one where, with his concussion, we really don't know what is in store for him. But, I think for Lukosius to come in and have such a long-term deal straight away, it was just like, I couldn't believe that even. But we'll see what happens with Port Power and see, with the Ivan Soldo incident as well was another thing. He went on to Instagram today, talked about... He said, he was sick of all the sort of innuendo about his partner, about him wanting to obviously go back to Victoria. I think the whole situation is just embarrassing for him. And I think Port Adelaide as well, they're like, one, he didn't even play that many games. He had a dodgy knee. And then he's got his missus that was like saying, oh, I hate Adelaide and I'm off to Dubai. That was interesting in itself. But yeah, good luck to the bloke. I don't really think, that sort of represents him in good light going forward. And I don't blame any other in our club saying, you know what, mate, you've made your choice. You got to lie in your bed and deal with it. So, hey, how are you? Doing a live. So yeah, it's just interesting with this trade period. A lot of it's just been not like nonsensical, like drama, but not even drama on a high scale. It's just been like drip feeding of little bits of information that really has just led to a lot of nothingness. And I think that's why the AFL need to at least shorten the trade this trade period, because it just drags out, and we've only had really major action yesterday, and then the last bit of action was on Thursday before the weekend last week. So it's really been pretty slow. But all the trades for Battle and all that came in really quick. Jack Graham to Eagles as a free agent went really quick, and then the Nick Hines to the Blues from GWS, that was really quick as well at the beginning of the first week. So yeah, it's in pick 6, and what's the other pick they've got? They've got so many picks. I think they've got 8 picks for this draft. It's just ridiculous. So I think, going to the draft doesn't breed success. You've seen it with the Giants. It was like pick 20. So to go number 1 like Harley Reid, and then to obviously back that up, is pretty phenomenal. It's just one of those things that, it's just a number. It's a hard metric to measure a player's value, that hasn't even played an official AFL game. They're just going off height, body weight, kicking efficiency, agility testing, vertical leap, all that sort of stuff, 2K time trial, all that sort of stuff. It's, yeah, great, but get them into a game of football. You can see who have the footy brains, and then you can see who are just the pure athletes. And I can guarantee you, the pure athletes do run where to, create space, and run the overlap, and that's all footy smarts. So that can't be taught in the gym. That just comes down from whether you've got it or not. So yeah, for example, I could give you one. I went to school with a guy called Sam Taylor. He's now in the GWS Giants. Wasn't particularly a great athlete at school. He had size 16 feet. Like, he couldn't really run that well for a start. And then on the flip side of that, you had Griffin Logue, who was drafted the year before him. Great athlete, fantastic athlete, rower, runner, whatever, footy player. But then you look at how far Sam Taylor's come to where Griffin Logue is, and now obviously Griffin Logue's got some body problems. But Sam Taylor is, I think, one of the highest paid Giants of all time. And he will be an Australian, I reckon, next year for sure. I think he's just built up enough. No, mate, no, not back in Australia yet. Nah, yet. So yeah, pretty soon. Yeah. Yeah, I want to go to a game of football start of next year for sure. I think that's the plan. Yeah, it's going to be weird seeing Shai Bolton run around in Freo colours, and then Liam Baker and Jack Graham's colours. That's something that I've got to get my head around, because great respective players for their club. I mean, Jack Graham, I think, from Australia. Liam Baker, obviously WA. Yeah, I think I think there's a lot of negativity around that, and I think the biggest news from the trade period was that trading pick 2 for basically Liam Bacon and Matt Owies. But could the Eagles have taken them to the preseason draft? Possibly Matt Owies, but not Liam Baker, I don't think. And to get the deal done and to honour Liam Baker, I think they just had to give up pick 3. I know that sounds absolutely nonsensical and just outrageous, but at the end of the day, I think they had been talking with Baker. Minnie McWalter's good to Baker. I think they just had to honour it. So yeah, everyone jumped ship from Richmond, no loyalty. Oh, I totally agree, mate. Yeah, and I think it's like, man, I'd hate to be a Richmond supporter, obviously, for one. And then two, I just think, how's Adam Uze? Like, I hope Adam Uze is a good development coach, because you're getting so many kids coming through, and I just don't think the draft breeds success. And the reason I say that is look at North Melbourne, your beloved North Melbourne. I think they're looking for. I mean, they've got Jack Darling, right? He's 298 gamer, and Luke Parker as well. I think they're looking for like mature aged player can add and provide leadership to guide the youth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I'm sensing. And I think with Richmond, they're in that position now. Yeah, great, they've got all these picks. Like, I'm happy for them. They obviously need the picks. They need some youth coming through, the new generation of Richmond players. But there's no guarantee in that. Yeah, I know. I was surprised Jack Darling went to North. I honestly thought Jack Darling, would have just played out one more year at the Eagles and then said, I didn't really expect him to be, I guess, inevitably traded. And it's going to be weird for him playing his 300 games, at North Melbourne, where he's only played like 2 games for them. Like, I think that's just bizarre, honestly. But I don't. And then I think he said in an interview recently, he expects to be kicking 40, 50 goals a game. Sorry, 40, 50 goals a year. And I'm just thinking, are you kidding me? Like, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it's great if you've got that, goal set to try and achieve that, but I just don't think at the twilight of his career he can actually back that claim. But yeah, I don't really know what's going to happen there. I hope it actually works out for Jack Darling. I don't wish him any like bad juju or anything like that, and I actually wish North do well coming 2025 as well, because I just feel like North do have a lot of talent. at their disposal. I just think they need just more mature heads around them. I think Luke Parker and Jack Darling, love him or hate him, I think is going to provide that. Definitely going to free up Nick Larkey. I mean, people forget that Jake Waterman only did well because of Jack Darling. The amount of off the ball stuff Jack Darling did to allow Jake Waterman to get free and to kick his goals and marks as he did this year is because of Jack Darling, believe it or not. Even though Jack Darling wasn't really in and around wasn't? No. Oh, actually, yeah. Actually, I think I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check. Luke Parker. I swear I saw something, or maybe it hasn't been done. Maybe he's gone to the preseason draft as well. Melbourne. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Sydney has off North Melbourne's initial approach. So that's yet to be done or dieted. So North Melbourne started talks by putting up pick number 62 for Parker in the initial chats between the two clubs, with discussions expected to rumble on across the next few days. The Swans have been keen to secure a fair, more significant package for Parker, who has played 293 games for the club and remains contracted for 2025. He has already requested trade to Arden Street, where he's set to make a multi-year offer. So yeah, that's yet to be, I guess, official. So yeah, I guess that could be another preseason draft where, you know, he's walked to the preseason draft and North, you know, pick him up. So I do as well, mate. I do as well. I rate Luke Parker. I mean, Luke Parker was arguably the best player on grand final day. You know, disappointing show for the Swans, and I think he kicked 3 goals or whatever. So yeah, definitely get Luke Parker. He actually has a bit of shin bone of spirit. You know what I mean? He's actually got a bit of fight in him, which is good to see. And I think he's got at least 1 or 2 years in him. If you know, his body's held up pretty well. If he didn't get, you know, suspended for that VFL incident earlier this season, he would have played probably, you know, many more games as well. So he did, mate. Yeah, he got a little bit ooh with him. Yeah. I think Luke Parker, he's just one of those hard-nosed, like, he just puts his head over the ball, puts his head in the tunnel and just goes for it. So, yeah, I like Luke Parker. And I think, you know, him and LDU together in the middle would be actually phenomenal. Like, really phenomenal. I rate that setup. So, yeah, we'll definitely see what happens there. I think it's just going to be another, preseason draft situation. Yeah, it's interesting because the preseason draft, it's not commonly used for people, say, you know, people that, you know, can be owed a lot of money, like, say, Bailey Smith. But as I said before, like, Paul Connors was Luke Ball's manager back in 2009 when Luke Ball was playing for St Kilda. And he basically walked from St Kilda, went to the preseason draft, got picked up by Collingwood, and then obviously played in the 2010 grand final, won the flag with Eyes in the infamous replay. So, and his manager was Paul Connors, the same as Bailey Smith. So I think Paul Connors, from past experience, is going to exploit that again. Because knowing Geelong, we all know Geelong loves to fit players in somehow with their salary cap. I don't know how they do it, seriously, but yeah, it's interesting. Like, that's probably what the Eagles are going to do with Barras. I don't think Barras is going to stay at Eagles. I don't think so. I think he'll walk to the preseason draft and be done with that way. I just think that with the Eagles, they gave away pick 3 and they've got to have a bit of fight in them, you know. And Geelong have been doing this for a long time. They're a hardball club. They don't give anything away for free. You know, prime example, Tim Kelly with the Eagles. I mean, we gave up so much for Tim Kelly. I'm not saying Tim Kelly's a bad player, but he has been thrown under the bus by a lot of Eagles fans and copped it more than anyone else, really. And that's not too flash, but we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, there's so much more to be talked about. Jake Stringer, he's not going to be going to GWS. They've walked away from Jake Stringer. Yeah, it's actually interesting because I saw something recently where Nick Hind was on Roaming Brian, and he was talking. BT was like, "Oh, who's this?" And then Nick Hind said to BT on Roaming Brian, "Oh, he helps me with things and stuff like that." And it turns out the guy Nick Hind was referring to was like an underworld figure. They do, mate. Yeah, they think long term, Geelong. Yeah, seriously, yeah. The more I think about it, Geelong, like if there's a club you want to model yourself off, it's definitely Geelong. I mean, they do things right all the time. Like yeah, I can't fault Geelong. Um, you know, the way they do things, Chris Scott, the coach, getting them into so many finals every year, it's just phenomenal. So, yeah, I'm just searching it up now. So, just trying to find this one. Yeah, so it was on Reddit, and his name was Kami Usel is his name, and yeah, he was done for like murder and stuff, underworld figures and drugs and all that. So I'll just try and find the clip, but how can I do this?
What does he do for you? No, he does plenty. We catch up at the cafe every day, and yeah, we're from different walks of life. Where's your cafe? Oh, not my cafe. Catch up at a cafe. Oh, at a cafe.
Yeah, that was what I was. I don't know if you could hear that, but yeah, supposed self-defense, mate. Yeah, exactly. So I just found that interesting. That was just off Reddit. That wasn't off anything special. Just something I came across. And I was like, oh, really? So I think Nick Hind didn't he get delisted? I think he's delisted from Bombers, and then Jakey Stringer. He's left in the lurch. So I don't think GWS, even though South Sydney or like is GWS is in North Sydney or South Sydney? I think it's South Sydney, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't freaking know that side of town. But yeah, basically, I think GWS, especially with everything that's gone down with woke AFL, with Ray Gun and bloody Toby Green getting done for mocking people, I just find that too soft. I think everyone can have fun. If it's an end of season thing, let them have fun. I don't have any problem with that. You know. Oh, the GWS traffic jams, yeah. Down on the farm, down in that paddock of a stadium that Mason Cox basically got stuck into GWS for. I think it was the first game this year, wasn't it? Big Coxie was being a bit cheeky, Mason Cox, because I think Magpies versus GWS round one, didn't they? Or opening round, where it was start of this year, right near ANZ Stadium. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, gotcha. Yeah, round one Mason Cox. Yeah, I remember Mason Cox going up to Mummy, doing that cheeky little, going up for the right contest, but then didn't sort of thing. Oh gosh, yeah. Nah, I think it's a good move by GWS. I don't think you want to be touching Stringer. Like I don't like. I get he's one of those players that can explode and like kick a goal from like literally like out of nowhere. I just don't think GWS, because they got Riccardi, they got who else they got? Cadman, Hogan. I don't think they need another forward that's literally got 1 year left in him to play AFL. Like, the guy has had body problems before in terms of trying to get fit. I don't really think GWS want to be messing around with that. Like, GWS should be contending for a premiership. Like, for them to be bowed out in two set finals this year, for mine, is embarrassing, to tell you the truth. So, yeah, I just think that they should just, yeah, stick with what works for them, not to get someone that isn't really worth for another club to come to them. So the AFL draft begins in 35 days, I realised. Oh, KO. They didn't show it on. What? So what happened then? Did they just? Was it just Channel 7? Oh, they didn't show it live. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh shit, that sucks. I didn't even know that. I was watching it on an app called Watch AFL. That's how I watched it. Um, I didn't use a VPN though to watch it, but it cost me, I don't know, I think it cost me like something pretty high. It was like $44 a month just to have like that month of finals. So I don't know where they were streaming it from, the Watch app. But it worked. It was no laggy or anything like that. Yeah, I know. $4, I know. But I really wanted to watch it. Like, yeah. On the AFL Saturday. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, jeez. Well, it was one of those grand finals that really let me down. And I wish I probably didn't want, pay. I mean, I was happy I paid the $44 for the whole final series. I think the final series this year was pretty good. It was just a grand final that I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, another one that is just uninspiring and just boring. Like, I know I've said this, but like 2018 was a phenomenal grand final. 2010, obviously, I didn't watch it. Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah, best final series of modern day for sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and obviously 2018 because I'm an Eagles supporter, but then 2010, I think from a neutral point of view, that was the first drawn, or I think a second drawn grand final. But I just to this day think the players got bent over hard. Imagine going out there playing your guts out, and then you have to rock up the next week. And a lot of these players are like busted. I remember reading like Michael Gardner was just like shattered, like his body was just fried. And he struggled to get up the next week. Imagine playing your guts out, having to get up the next week and play again. I just think that is just stupid. And even Nick Maxwell, at the time when they had drawn, the commentator came up to him, or boundary. Yeah, and he was like, Nick Maxwell was like, why do I have to come back? Why do I have to come back and play next week? Why can't we just go to overtime? For the players and fans, yeah. And I remember like the crowd, as soon as the siren went, they were like, boo, like, and just not like, yeah, obviously boo, but then just like a, oh, come on sort of thing. You could hear it all around the stadium. And I just thought that was a real low point, to be honest with you. I don't know if 2024 was as bad as... I mean, obviously 2023 was another good one as well, don't get me wrong. 4 points or 5 points, whatever the score was. Brisbane Lions versus Collingwood. Obviously sucked because Collingwood won. So I was going from Brisbane Lions. But 2022, the Swans and Geelong, that was a horrendous grand final. 2021, I was at because it was in Perth. That was again, it was sort of, it had its moments, but it wasn't particularly engaging, that grand final. And then 2019, the Giants one? That was diabolical. 2020, I didn't really watch it, to be honest. That grand final I didn't watch. I don't know what I was doing because it was a night grand final. I actually don't even remember watching the I don't think I actually watched it, to be honest. Did you watch it? The 2020? Because I know it was a night game. Oh, the whole 2022. Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I wouldn't even bother watching the 2022. Yeah, and then the 2018, obviously the best. 2017, absolute letdown. Adelaide, just their stupid power stance got them nowhere in that game. Oh, is it the COVID GF? Okay, I'll check it out. Yeah, I don't even know what I was doing that night because I know it was a night GF. But I didn't watch it. That was the only grand final I think I haven't watched ever. And then the Hawks 3-peat grand finals, the Freo 1 and 13, same was Eagles. Oh, okay, big hits. Ablett injury. Oh, I remember the Ablett injury. Yeah, I saw it that on the news. Yeah, that was pretty bad, huh? And then Dusty flying. Yeah, yeah, because he won the norm in that one as well. Just trying to find out the Hawks GF 2014 who they versed. I can't remember. Oh, Sydney. Was that a tight game, the 2014 one? I can't remember. But yeah, just another one where Sydney have lost. I mean, we can talk about collie wobbles, the 2000. 2 and 3 grand finals that they lost, Collingwood. But then for Sydney to lose so many over a long period of time, bar 2012 and 2006, they lost that one as well. Holton smashed. Yeah, okay, they smashed them as well. Okay, holy shit. Okay. The Dockers and the Hawks in 2013, that was I think, 9-point or 13-point win for the Hawks. It was a little bit closer, but at times it just felt like they were ahead of so much longer than they were. And then 2012, obviously, Sydney won against Hawks. Very close game, that one, actually. 2011 was Geelong, right? They won against Pies. Again, I don't know how tight it was, but I remember seeing the game and I thought that was an okay grand final. But yeah, 2007. 2007 was like heavy off it. Like, seriously, the only time I felt sorry for Port fans, to be honest. I have no really sympathy for them, but that was just embarrassing. And basically set Port back for the next, I don't know, another 5, 6, 7 years, because Ken Hinkley was the assistant coach at Geelong in that game, and then Ken goes to coach Port. So just goes to show, yeah. What are your thoughts on the preseason draft? Do you think it should be exploited more? Like, do you think more sort of players would be like doing that more often? Because I think it sort of just goes back to players, I guess players that are trying to leave their current club. They don't really shaft them and leave them with a bad taste in their mouth. Like, can see all the GFs on this list. Show me the money. What's that? What's that? I never thought the draft was interesting until I watched Show Me the Money. I've not watched Show Me the Money. Oh, is that on Amazon? Sorry, I think I might have seen parts of it, but I haven't seen like I haven't seen the whole thing. I just seen like the ads for it. I probably should watch that, eh? Is that on Amazon or? Oh, it's on Stan. Ah, okay. Player agents. Actually, that would be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind watching that, because I'd be keen to know. I only know one player agent that was a past player who is totally, you probably, like, you may know him, Andrew McDougall. He played for the Eagles. He was sort of a hit and miss player, but he's now like one of the big agents, in Perth. Nick Geach obviously manages Harley Reid and Tom Barrass, so he's probably the top dog in WA. But I don't know, like, when I think back to it, I remember in the Ben Cousins documentary, obviously Ricky Nixon talking about Ben Cousins. I don't know if I'd want my son to be managed by that bloke, you know. And if I was Brian Cousins, I'd be like, my son managed by Ricky Nixon. I think I should be alarmed. McDougall's in the show. No shit. Okay. Well, I'm definitely watching it then. Yeah. No, I'd love to know more about that side of footy, because it intrigues me. Hey, like, I think the smartest people are the ones that don't play AFL. They're the ones that are the agents for the players, because you have no risk to your body. You're not going to have joint pain or major joint pain or complicated surgeries when you get on. I think that, click on that IMDb link. There's no link in the chat though. I don't know how to do it. I'll just search it up. I've got my lap here. My lappy. Show me the money. How much is a Stan membership? I can just watch the show and then just cancel it, right? It's only going to cost me like $3.99, right? For like a quick little. Oh, there's 2 seasons. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'll definitely watch it. It's actually rated high on IMDb. It's like 8.2 out of 10, which, you know, it's not bad. Had it for a while. Okay. Yeah. Now I'll watch it regardless of the price. I will watch it and yeah, go from there. I've got the explainer. This is like on the AFL website saying what happens if the Bailey Smith deal falls over, and it's basically saying, you know, what's the state of play. So Bailey Smith, the numbers in the 2018 AFL draft. Oh, was a big focus on the JHF trade to Port. Oh, okay, Brodie Grundy to Melbourne. Oh, perfect. Oh, geez, I'm a little bit late, but better late than never. I'll definitely watch it. Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much for that, good sir. That is very good. So basically, back to the article. So basically, how long do they have to get it done? So they've got 48 hours. The deadline looming at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Daytime time on Wednesday night. And then it says, what happens if the trade cannot be agreed to? Well, Smith's current contract to the Bulldogs expires on October 31st, meaning if he would no longer have any ties to the Dogs as November 1st. It also means the Bulldogs would not get any compensation for losing Smith to another club. So that's the killer. So if there's no like sort of deal struck before the deadline, it means that there's no compensation for the Dogs. And I think that's the biggest risk here with Bailey Smith thing. So this is where the Cats have an advantage. So in the current negotiations, if they hold their ground and a deal is not agreed to before Wednesday night, they can secure Smith via the draft next month. The only way for the Bulldogs to get anything in return for Smith is to complete a trade. If they can't, they will get nothing. Like, that is the killer. And I think the Cats know what they can do to exploit that, which is obviously the preseason draft. However, what would stop another club picking Smith at the draft? So that's what the Geelong Cats risk. So if he goes to the preseason draft, you know, the risk Geelong would be taking if they can't get a deal done with Bulldogs by Wednesday night is technically nothing. However, clubs are allocated picks in the draft based on their ladder position for the season. So Richmond, which finished at the bottom of the ladder this year, currently has pick number 1 in the national draft, while Geelong's first pick isn't until pick 17. So, like, as it stands, I don't like how Smith was hanging out with the opposition. Oh, mate, tell me about it. Yeah, I saw that. I think I put a picture up on my community page on YouTube. Like, there's a picture of him just sitting with Cat supporters. Tom Hawkins is behind him. And I think he was sitting with one of the directors of Cotton On, who's obviously a massive Cat supporter. And yeah, obviously, you know, Bailey Smith's a brand ambassador of Cotton On. So I just find that really interesting, to be honest with you. And yeah, it's obviously it's obviously showing that Bailey Smith is leaving the Bulldogs with a bad taste, not only in his mouth, but I think leaving a bad taste in everyone else's mouth. There's definitely a bit of friction there that needs to be investigated. So as it stands, obviously 10 clubs have at least one pick before Geelong's pick 17 in the national draft. So Melbourne, West Coast, Adelaide, Melbourne, Gold Coast, St Kilda, Fremantle, Carlton and Greater Western Sydney. The list of 10 is likely to change due to pick swaps in the final days of the trade period, but any of these clubs could theoretically select Smith with their pick on draft night. However, it's a little bit more complicated than that. So why would rival clubs not draft? The first reason is salary cap. Now, we know Geelong are masters of salary cap. You know, as he's a previously listed player. Smith, financial terms of his contract when he nominates for the draft, meaning he could demand a salary tenure that he knows Geelong could satisfy, but other clubs might not be able to. Clubs take years to plan their salary cap, and it would take a significant change strategy to be able to squeeze Smith's sizable contract under the cap with just a few weeks now. So that's basically it there. Secondly, clubs with high draft picks have spent years scouring the best young talent in the country ahead of the national draft, similar to the salary cap consider. Opting to draft Smith instead of a young player would represent a significant change of list management strategy. But the main reason a club would be unlikely to draft Smith against his will would be the potential fallout of doing so. So using a large chunk of your salary cap on a player who does not want to be at your club makes little sense. And even if Smith was forced to play for a club other than Geelong in 2025, he would likely request a trade to the Cats again at the end of next year. So basically, the club that he's being traded to needs to satisfy his player manager, not only him, in the quest of that. And his manager is Paul Connors. So yeah, that's basically it there. That's yeah, I think basically Cats are just being very conniving. They know that, you know, Bulldogs are going to play hardball, but Bulldogs are playing hardball to their own detriment. You know, they're not going to get any compo for it. So I think that's just a risk they're going to be willing to take, and that's what's going to happen. So that's them there, really. Because back in 2019, Jack Martin was taken through the preseason draft because Carlton couldn't facilitate a trade from his current team, which was Gold Coast to Carlton. And so he walked into the preseason draft that way. And that's what obviously happened with Luke Ball. And Luke Ball's manager in 2009 was Paul Connors. Walked Luke Ball into the preseason draft, and out he came, a premiership player in 2010 with Collingwood. And you can imagine how awkward that was for him, shaking the hands of his former teammates saying, yep, I've won a Prem. Freaking losers. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Sometimes in order to get that prize cup and that medal around your neck, you have to do some sort of dog things. And Luke Ball's one of those players that, you know, I'll never forget. It just goes to show that loyalty only lasts so long. And as well as the fact that I think just player contracts are just stupid. You know, why? So, like, for example, Lukosius, why give 6 years? I don't think Lukosius is going to leave. I'm just saying, like, you know, why give someone a long contract if they're not going to honour it? And prime example here, Tom Barrass. You know, I don't think it was his full choice to leave. I think he was basically guided to say, hey, look, we need someone to go to get something in this year's draft. For next year to stock up for potentially getting Chad Warner. I think that's their strategy. And Tom Barrass is 3 years on his contract. So he's a prime example of that. Yeah, no, I agree. I think Luke Ball as a player is fantastic. You know, you ask any Saints fan, they still despise him. But you're right. The Collingwood Magpies had a very slick team. You know, Didac, even Daisy Thomas at that time was pretty useful. And obviously Scott Pendlebury, he's just a goat, like, of Collingwood. Like, when you think of greatest of all times, you know, he'd have to be up. I know he hasn't really won a Brownlow or any of that jazz, but at the end of the day, a player plays for premierships. Brownlows is just the icing on the cake. It really is. You know, that's players are really there to play for. And I just hope, from an Eagles point of view, again, I go back to my beloved Eagles, that they can actually keep Harley Reid. But I am cynical on that, based on, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm cynical because, yes, they can go to the draft and get some young blokes, but that's not going to necessarily make Reid want to stay. And I know he's really good mates with Finn O'Sullivan, which is Finn O'Sullivan is the cousin of Sam Walsh, and he's been linked to Carlton. Yeah, I agree. I'm really keen to see, obviously, how he keeps improving under the guise of Elliot Yeo and stuff like that. I found it interesting. I know a bit of sidetrack here, but I found it interesting on again. Kane Corns was having a dig at Tim Gossage, who basically does the SEN in WA, basically saying that Eagles don't know how to trade. You know, they split. I don't know what pick it was. Split pick 2 or something like that for Jinby and Hewitt. And if they had just kept that pick, they would have got Sheasel. So, and then Tim Gossage's reply to that was that, well, he's a half-back flanker that just gets a lot of easy ball. And I'm thinking, Sheasel's a freaking gun, mate. What are you talking about? And Sheasel wasn't even half-back most of the time this year. He was moved, like, on the ball. He was moved half forward under Alistair Clarkson. Like, Alistair Clarkson's been trying him, you know, to give him a taste of other positions. So, yeah, I'm with Kane. And look, love or hate Kane Corns, the fact that he's a straight shooter, I respect a lot more. Yeah, no, Yeah, no, I totally agree with that, mate. The word around town is that West Coast Eagles went backwards. Yeah, I do. I'd probably do agree with that. The only thing that would change my mind on that is that if pick three is a dud, okay, if pick three is a dud, right, we can laugh and go, ha, whatever, you know. The flip side of that is that Matt Always really should have been sent to the preseason draft. You know, yes, he kicked 33 goals this year, but, you know, he might have been worth maybe a high 60s, pick in the high 60s maybe. But I understand still take the trade for Baker. Something had to move. Collins has to always say something, mate. He always has to say something. It might be the most positive outcome for the club, and he has to say something negative about it. He just flops like that. You know what I mean? Like, he's just he's a radio shock at heart, but you know he's like the Steve Price of AFL media. You know what I mean? Like, he will every morning he could wake up happy, then just purposely kick his toe at the end of the bed, and then want to book someone or piss someone off, or you know, fire shots at somebody just to get clicks. You know, that's the name of the game. Yeah, I definitely I definitely see where he's coming from with that, because I think Dan Houston, some say like he was helped by Lear and stuff like. I don't think so that much. I think Lear and Radaglia. Radaglia not a forward. Keep him down back for a start. Secondly, I think Lear's under pump. They need someone down there that's helping him out. And Zach Thatcher was sort of on and off all season this year. He wasn't very consistent. But they will definitely miss that line breaker from Houston. That no doubt. Is Houston going to immediately improve Collingwood? Yeah. Yeah, I agree, mate. Yeah, fish out of water in the forward line. So for Port Adelaide, just keep him back. He's from Geelong. He was a defender by trade. Don't do that shit, Ken Hinkley. Just keep him down back. And I just think that, I think with the Dan Houston trade, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't think, now this is a bit controversial, I don't think Dan Houston's a much better player than John Noble. I'm happy to be wrong, but I don't think he is like a leaps and bounds better player. The only thing that got Dan Houston over to Collingwood was his ties with the Dacos brothers and Darcy Moore, stuff like that. He had a lot of Collingwood ties, and he just wanted to get back to Victoria. Fair enough. I just don't think that, it's a massive improvement to the team. Who's that? You know, from memory, didn't Noble have a great... Yeah, he did, mate. And he got shafted by the club. Like, I'd leave a club if I'd played 22... I think he played 22 games that year. If I'd played 22 games a year for a club, busted my backside, pretty much everything right, and then to the last step to get to the grand final, they go, yeah, no, we're dropping you. And I'd be going, what do you mean? What more do I need to do? You know, John Noble, for mine, is just as good a player as Dan Houston. I think the biggest winners of the trade period from my perspective is Carlton getting pick 3 from the Eagles. I'm just hoping it's the next Judd or Ablett. And I think the Suns. I think the Suns and the Blues have done extremely well this trade period. They are the winners. You know, for Suns to get Rioli and then John Noble, who's a line breaker, frees up Flanders, frees up who's the other guy there? I can't what his name was. Damn, I forgot his name. He plays for Suns. It's Flanders, another guy. He's just a ball magnet. Frees those guys up. They can get a lot more of the peel, and I think that